All right. Let's talk a little bit of boxing because we got some good topics here. And, I'm a controversial figure when it comes down to boxing. I speak my mind, and I'm not afraid of what I say because I believe in what I say. It is what it is. If you take offense or do you think that I'm, trying to go against you or whatever, then, you're a sissy and a crybaby. You should go somewhere else where there's real, this is for real men. This is not for little sissies, okay? A lot of insecure men in today's world, and they're not really direct. They don't really express themselves. And they're afraid because they're afraid of losing subscribers and yada, yada, yada. Listen, even if I had just one subscriber in my channel, I'm okay. I already do this in Spanish and I get shit for it, but I'm going to do it in English now. And I think that's what I think is good for boxing, that you can express yourself in a way that, might be controversial, but you're also telling the truth. And I'm a boxing purist. I really do like the sport of boxing. I like clinching. I like all the good stuff of boxing, but that's what makes the sport the sport. Okay. All that other nonsense and bullshit comes from casual fans who never sparred in their life or never actually been in the ring before. And to me, I mean, I don't give a shit what no casual fans say. All right, so let's talk about this topic because, as everybody knows, Canelo Alvarez will be fighting against Terrence Crawford. Canelo Alvarez is naturally 168 pounds. He did come from the super welterweight division, which is 154 pounds. And, he had a decent career. A lot of people want to discredit his career. And in fact, I'm going to tell you a secret. Most people don't know this, but most people who discredit Canelo are actually Mexican fans, especially in Mexico. They think that his career is overhyped and he is an actual fraud. I'm not even joking. That is the truth. Now, where does he get his support? He gets his support from Latino Americans, especially Mexican so-called Americans. You either American, the United States, or you're Mexican. There's no such thing as Mexican American. If you're born and raised in the United States, you're an American. So I call them wannabe Mexicans, which are actually from the United States. But even when they go to Mexico, they don't even actually get the same welcoming because they believe they're pochos, which is a word for a gringo. They're not really Mexicans, but they believe they're Mexicans. So just to let you know, if you do not know that. But most people believe in Mexico that Canelo Alvarez is a fraud. Okay. And a lot of people say, why do you have to discredit his record? Right. And it's not that I want to discredit his record, because to me, it's not about trying to discredit anybody without any form of evidence, but it's really the type of boxer that he is. He has ducked fights. He ducked Demetrius Andrade in 154 pounds and also in 160 pounds. I thought he could fight Banasmore Erosion back in the day when Banasmore Erosion was going to fight Laura. I think Canelo Alvarez could have fight him too, right? Did he have to fight him? No. But could he fight him? Yeah. But Demetrius Andrade, he ducked, especially with that situation with Brian Rose, okay? He moved up to 160 pounds and then once again ducked Demetrius Andrade, and he could have been undisputed. And he decided to basically leave behind $40 million in the table. I broke that story, and just move up and fight Sergey Kovalev, which he gave a rehydration clause and yada yada yada. And then he's still ducking David Benavidez. He never fought Dave Morrow Jr., which is another boogeyman in his division. But yet, when David Benavidez fought Demetrius Andrade, he said that fight was going to be a 50-50 fight, which makes no sense because you were saying that David Benavidez was not that good. But then you say that's a good fight. And then Demetrius Andrade avoided 2 weight classes. He ends up fighting another American fighter, which is David Benavidez. So it's interesting how Canelo Alvarez has been able to duck these crucial fights in his career, because there are some boxing fans. They're not really boxing fans, but they're more nationalistic. They believe more in race. They believe in these like weird things that have nothing to do with boxing, where no matter what Canelo does, they have to kiss his ass, right? And that's something I will never understand, because If a boxer is ducking another boxer, then you are a duck. Doesn't matter what country you're from. It doesn't matter if you're Latino. It doesn't matter if you're black. It doesn't matter if you're white or you're blue or you're red or you're green. When you're ducking, and you should call out that fighter and say, you know what? You have to make the best fights. This is the fight that you have. You can become undisputed, right? You should fight Demetrius Andrade. You should fight David Benavidez, right? So now the duck has gone so far that he's fighting Terrence Crawford, and we all know that Terrence Crawford is coming from the lightweight. He came from the lightweight all the way to the welterweight division, and then he moved up to super welterweight, and now he's literally moving up to face Canelo Alvarez. Now, Canelo Alvarez, once again, is not just the ducking, it's not just the rehydration clauses and all this garbage that he includes, right? It's also the fact that he doesn't want to fight David. He didn't want to fight Demetrius Andrade, but he's okay with fighting Terrence Crawford. Interesting. I mean, what sort of champion would not want to face David Benavidez or Dave Merrill Jr. and have them in his record? Like, what sort of champion who's a real champion would want to duck, the Cuban and the American? Why? Why would you do that? Because you're a coward. Because you don't believe that you can beat him. And one of the saddest things is that these people would rather suck Canelo's wee-wee than actually be real men and be like, you know what? This guy is actually ducking boxers. But like I said, people are emotional and they will go wherever they need to go with their emotions without having any common sense or criteria or integrity. Okay? So, in the case of Canelo Alvarez, he's fighting Terrence Crawford. Now, I'm an American and I follow American boxing, and I want Terrence Crawford to beat Canelo Alvarez. That's just me. Okay? I'm not going to allow some dude who, and this is what really blows my mind. David Benavidez is an American boxer. Diego Pacheco is an American boxer. Jose Ramirez is an American boxer. I mean, you have all these American boxers who are Latinos. And this Canelo dude comes from Oscar De La Hoya's ass, and then he becomes this white superstar. And he's more loved in the United States than David Benavidez. That blows my mind. That makes no sense, and it blows my mind at the same time. How are you, as an American, who has some sort of pride, because we have the best boxing in the world, there's not even a question about that, okay? We produce the best talent since the beginning of boxing, okay? We replaced England immediately, and we had the best boxers. How are you going to back up Canelo Alvarez? And that just blows my mind. Listen, that sounds like some traitor shit, to be honest with me. I mean, to be honest with you, to me that sounds like some traitor shit. To me, that sounds like backstabbing. David Benavidez is a boxer that's trying to get all the fights. Demetrius Andrade try to get all the fights. And then you're backing a boxer who's not even from your country, who ducks these boxers, and you kiss his ass, despite the fact that he was caught cheating, despite the fact that he gives rehydration clauses to his opponents, and despite the fact that he ducked two American great boxers, because I believe Canelo Alvarez would have lost against Andrade for an undisputed title at 160 pounds. I believe that with all my heart, soul, and mind. I don't think he had the technique to beat Andre because styles make fights, and he was a very complicated boxer. But Andre had the balls to move up 268 pounds and fight David Benavidez. And there's always going to be a winner and a loser, but that's okay. That's part of boxing. So Terrence Crawford is moving up. Spoke to Steven Nelson a few times, and I can tell they have a great camp. And I can tell you that, he's really motivated for this fight. Steven Nelson is the director of his gym in Omaha. And he's really motivated. He believes that he can actually beat Canelo Alvarez. And I believe he probably will actually beat Canelo Alvarez. Now, the thing is this. Canelo, once again, he has this pass. He's like the star that the media wanted to create because he was both Latino, spoke Spanish, and he was white. And that always gives you an extra and a plus, especially being white gives you an extra and a plus, which many other Latino fighters don't have. I'm just being honest. And when he fought Gennady Golovkin, the first fight, it's funny how he was actually running from Gennady Golovkin, which was another hype job too. I never liked Gennady Golovkin. I think it was a hype job. I think he ducked Andre Ward. I think that he didn't want to make unifications with Andre. He was another pussy too. Triple go-go girl, I call him. But he was a pussy too. During this time, he was a pussy. He went when he left the sport of boxing, he went from the back door, silence. He moved up against Canelo Alvarez, but he didn't want to move up against Andre Ward, one division, but he was willing to do it with Canelo Alvarez. Interesting. And then on top of that, he had no problem moving Kell Brook 2 weight classes up. Interesting. But he moving up 1 weight class against Ward, even though he started all that bullshit of trash talking and never backed it up, him and Abel Ramos. For me, he was a hype job. I think Bernard Hopkins was a way better middleweight than that fraud. And he was undisputed, Bernard Hopkins. This dude was never undisputed. He was scared of fighting Demetrius Andrade. And on top of that, he never gave a rematch with Sergey Yevchenko. I think he deserved one. Never gave him one. He never gave a rematch to Daniel Jacobs. That was a close fight. They could have been a second fight. Very mediocre, hyped up job the media created as well. With Canelo Alvarez. Either way. So, and it's funny now that I mentioned that. It's funny how Canelo could move up Amir Khan, who we know had a glass chin, 2 weight classes, right? But then he himself calls David Benavidez a weight bully. Now, look at the logic of that. Does that make sense? Okay. Anyway. Now, to me, Terrence Crawford is an exceptional boxer. I have to rank him number 2 for right now because Usyk just beat Dubois and he's a 3-time undisputed champion. Crawford has to beat Canelo Alvarez for me to put him number 1 again. But there's no shame on that because Usyk is a great fighter and a one in a generation, talent. So we're not going to see too many Usyks during our time, and not in Terrence Crawford either. So Terrence Crawford has to beat Canelo Alvarez. But the thing that is kind of weird with Canelo, and I never quite understood, is in 154 pounds, Canelo Alvarez's power was okay. But then when he moved to 160, after he got caught cheating with that Clenbuterol bullshit, he looked way bigger in 6 months. And he was moving pretty well to be a middleweight, but not too much of a problem there. But then when he moved up, he showcased some serious power. He broke Billy Joe Saunders' eye socket. Just orbital, just totally smashed. And, and he beat Callum Smith as well. But for some reason or another, I think this guy was in juice this whole time. I don't know why. But I really believe this guy has been juicing for some time, because it's interesting how he had all that knockout power and he beat, Caleb Plant, knocked him out. But then after Caleb Plant, his 6 fights, which bums like Aimugia or, for example, Edgar Berlanga or John Ryder, which were not as, at least not as not as technically as sound as some of the boxers that he fight against. It's funny how he just lost that power out of the blue sky, right? And nobody really questions that. How do you lose your power when you're knocking out these opponents? Because power is something that you retain, right? I mean, George Foreman had power, whether during Muhammad Ali or when he was in the 90s. His power was there. Deontay Wilder might not be the most skillful boxer, but he has a lot of power with it. He hits you with one of those, he's gonna baptize you. So power is still there. Archie Moore had a lot of power. Harry Wills had a lot of power. Power remains. That's what I'm saying. Power remains. But suddenly, somehow or somewhat, he just lost it. Kind of suspicious. And he was caught cheating, right? Now, it wouldn't be too bad of a story, in my opinion, if it wasn't for Avery Reynoso's camp, right? Which got caught cheating like literally 7 times with 7 different boxers. And that's a record by itself. Nobody wants to talk about that, but that's something that, that's a world record, bro. I've never seen a trainer handle 7 fighters who tested all positive in the same camp. That's never happened ever before. And guess what country is representing Avery Reynoso? Yeah, Mexico. That's really sad. That's terrible for their boxing. That sounds like Russian. The Russians are caught doping in the Olympics. That's what it sounds to me. In Mexico, that you if you're fighting a Mexican fight, you gotta watch out that they're not putting shit in their body. That's bad to say, but that's true. Anyway, so he cannot lose against Crawford. Canelo Alvarez cannot lose against Crawford, because if Canelo loses against Crawford, that will be the biggest humiliation ever imparted from an American boxer to a Mexican boxer, because he should be beating soundly. He should be destroying Terrence Crawford. But even if it's a close fight, that's going to ruin Canelo's reputation. That's not a good thing. So he needs to knock him out. He needs to knock out Terrence Crawford, because even if it's a close fight, it would still be close to a humiliating defeat. If Crawford beats Canelo, like I said before, that will be an irreparable blow to Mexican boxing. That will be the worst thing that could ever happen. And there's no excuse, bro. Even if it's a split decision, even if it's a majority decision, draw, and Crawford is able to hang out there with Canelo Alvarez, that will be the biggest humiliation Mexico's ever had in the history of their boxing. Because if he would have fought David Benavidez and David Benavidez whoops his ass, we already know that David was the new upcoming talent, generational talent that was going to supplant Canelo Alvarez. But Crawford should not be in that inner circle of Canelo's next opponents. It would be like Naoyune beating the shit out of Gervonta Davis, or even beating Gervonta Davis by points. That itself would be a very hurtful blow for American boxing, and also for Gervonta Davis, which I believe he's a duck. I mean, in America we do have duck fighters. There's many boxers who are ducks, but he's one of them, right? But Crawford is not. Crawford has a pair, and he's willing to fight anybody, and he wants to create a great legacy for himself. And I think he was really unfairly treated by the media, by Bob Arum, who's a renowned racist. Look how he treated Guillermo Rigondeaux, and I mean Guillermo Rigondeaux, Shakur Stevenson had issues with him. I mean, these are great boxers, man. These are great boxers. But this guy wanted to kiss Lomachenko's ass with stupid comments like, "This is the best boxer I've ever technically seen since I saw Muhammad Ali." Wow. That is a stretch. Man, Jeff Candler was really good technically. Miguel Canto, the Mexican boxer, was really sound technically. Wilfredo Benitez was very sound. Andre Ward was technically really sound. Bernard Hopkins was very sound too, technically. Roy Jones, I mean, you name them. There were so many of them. So many of them. Miguel Lara, Hilario Martinez. So many great boxers. They were just nice to watch. Right? Floyd with the junior, he had his issues with like Canelo ducking fights and going without on this all this record 0 record shit. You got to be undefeated, but he was a great technical boxer. You can't deny that. So Crawford was really unfairly treated by Bob Arum, because I believe Bob Arum is a racist, and we all know. I'm not going to say anything, but Bob Arum, we know certain things about Bob Arum. I can't get into it, but you know what I'm talking about if you know something about him. Anyway, so Terrence Crawford has to really watch out, because I believe that Canelo Alvarez is not taking steroids, or at least he has not been taking steroids since he fought Caleb Plant. And I think his body looks slower. He looks like he has the body of a 40-year-old. But if you look a couple of years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago, he just looked solid, moving, just everything kind of changed. But now he looks a lot more slower, flat-footed. Just definitely looks like a robot, like ED-209 from RoboCop. That's how he moves in the ring. So you can't tell me that a sudden change in movement and just physique, like his hair looks like it's falling off. There's something weird about him. There's just something weird about him. There's something weird. There's something that's not right. And I think that he stopped taking steroids, because you can't, you're knocking out Caleb Plant, and then suddenly you just get stuck in fights, easier fights than Caleb Plant, like Berlanga, or, who just got whooped by Shiraz. Jaime Mujia got knocked out by, what was the guy's name? The French guy. It's not Shiraz, but I'm talking about the French guy, Sarase. But you cannot knock him out, and you're the AK king of the division. You're gonna knock out Crawford. So there's something wrong. There's something that's not right with that fight, or with Canelo Alvarez. So if I was Crawford, he definitely needs to make sure that there's testing going on, and I think that Canelo does not really like Turki Al-Sheikh, because Turki Al-Sheikh is in Crawford's side, or in Crawford's corner this time. And normally Canelo has all the power, but in this particular event, the real power comes from the Saudis and from Riyadh Season. It's not really or necessarily coming from Canelo Alvarez. So, I think that if Canelo goes or at least goes to points with Crawford this time, he might not get the decision. Okay. And if he doesn't, he deserves it anyway, because he should be knocking out Terrence Crawford. He is the bigger guy. He has been in that division for a minute, right? But like I said, he's a controversial figure. When he fought, I think it was Aldi Gildrim. It was literally like it was an order. He just selected him, but they already gave him the fight, the WBA and the WBC title, which we know that Dave Benavidez didn't make weight, but they gave him the title directly without fighting against Gildrim. And that was against the fight, if I'm not mistaken, against Callum Smith. They gave him both titles, which was really weird. You don't become undisputed, fighting a guy. You have to become undisputed, fighting the real champion, and that was David Benavidez. And the WBC could have made him a recess champion, and then had Canelo fight Gildrim, and then make him as mandatory or whatever, or force the fight. But the WBC is in Mexico, and they're obviously not going to approve of lowering Canelo Alvarez to a certain standard. So they're there for their own interest. And I think one of the biggest problems in boxing is that here in America, we need to make sure that the National Boxing Association takes over the country again and stop relying on these world titles. But that's a different topic that I'll cover a different day. I think a national title is 100 times better than a world title, because we're going to end up getting the stick with so many organizations. Also unifications and all that. Just make one belt like we had in the past, make it American, and then have these other countries or people, these other boxers from different countries participate and become part of it. Many wouldn't, because they would lose. They would be at the bottom of the barrel, and they wouldn't have the chance to duck. But anyway, that's just, like I said, it's a different topic. Anyway, but Crawford needs to really, really watch out in this fight, and he needs to make sure that Canelo does not test positive. He needs to make sure that there is strict VADA testing. He needs to make sure that making calls and making sure that Turkey is putting some is being serious about this, which I think he will. But anyway, so we'll see what happens in this fight. But like I said, Canelo has to literally humiliate Terrence Crawford. A close fight would spell doom to his career, and on top of that, it would hurt Mexican boxing a lot. Fighting Terrence Crawford is not going to help your legacy. It's going to fuck your legacy, because even if he beats Terrence Crawford, he's not going to gain anything. The one who's going to gain everything is going to be Terrence Crawford, because he moved up. Because when you move up, that's how you get recognition. You get recognition moving up. The one that you don't get recognition unless you settle in that division for a while, like Underwood did with Kovalev. If you're just moving up like Terrence Crawford and fighting Canelo Alvarez, you're not going to get that recognition. So technically, you shouldn't be taking that fight. So that's Canelo's fault. So should be taking David or or another boxer in this division. But anyway, that is what it is. So I'll speak more about this fight as it approaches. All right. So another topic that I wanted to cover is these racial wars. Now, one of the problems in boxing in general is that I realized that there's some sort of envy against the Black American boxer. Okay, they're not Afro-Americans. They don't come from Africa. Okay, that's like an insult. We do that in America a lot. We don't say Euro-Americans, right? We just say Americans. But when it's a different sort of color, we just call it, Mexican Americans or whatever fucking you want to put in your mind. Just American. You're the American, you're not. Okay, you either have the documents or you don't. That's just how it is. But I noticed that they really don't get too much recognition, but they're one of the most Black American boxers are the essence of what boxing should be. And they have kept their pedigree since Joe Gans. And they're the toughest boxers to beat. And the top of the mountain is the Black American boxer. Now, I believe that there are some sort of racial differences between different people, right? And they want to incorporate that into boxing because it's a man's sport, right? But I think this is a huge mistake because that's not really what you're looking at boxing. I mean, if you're looking at boxing to see somebody from a different race get beat up, it will be like me watching. I mean, I'm whiter, I guess, but it will be like me watching. I don't know. I mean, not a lot of white boxers that I like, but let's say Usyk. He beats the shit out of Wilder. Oh, I take pleasure on that. That's weird. That is very weird. That's just fucking strange and psychotic too. I don't take pleasure on watching a boxer beating another boxer. All I want to see is a good fight. Okay, so I'm a boxing fan first and foremost, and I would like Wilder to beat Usyk. Okay, I would like Wilder to beat Usyk. Can he beat Usyk? Well, it only takes one shot, but he wouldn't be the favorite, right? So I feel like, and just watching a lot of the comments and the hate that some of these boxers get, these black boxers get in America, it's really disgusting because black boxers are the definition of boxing. You take them out of the sport, and this sport wouldn't be the same. If we send a sonar to space and we were going to show aliens what boxing is all about, the definition would be the black American boxer. And as Americans, we have to be proud that through our technical skills and through our generational talents and through our tradition of boxing, we have made these great boxers because we do have the best boxing in the planet. Whether they want to admit it or not, there's United States at the peak of the peak of the peak, and then there's like Mexico, and then there's, it follows down from there. But we're at the top of the top of the top, okay? Not even a question. Even our Latino boxers who come from the United States are technically sounder and better than most of the Latino countries that great boxers, like Venezuela or Mexico or Panama. I'm not saying that they don't create good boxers, but even our boxers that we mold here in America become more technical and better because of our programs, because of our spirit, and also because we are very competitive. That's part of our culture. We're a very competitive culture, but unfortunately that competitiveness sometimes makes us hate one another, and I think that's a huge mistake. Okay, in the case of Devin Haney, listen, there's no hate. There's no reason why I hate Devin Haney. Devin Haney is an undisputed champion. He became undisputed at a very young age. I think he was undisputed, at 23 or 24? I forgot. But he's an undisputed champion. And instead of being like, wow, he's an undisputed champion, we want to attack his character because we don't agree with some of the things he does outside of boxing. Well, listen, if you were to grab a camera and watch of some of the things these boxers do in private, you probably wouldn't be a fan of any of them because a lot of them hide some serious sick shit. Okay, they're no it's innocent little lambs. So to attack Devin Haney because of his character, you don't like him, it's kind of weak because we're here to watch boxing. We're not here to care about what he does outside of boxing or how he acts or whatever. Listen, if he has a certain energy, okay, so be it. Who gives a shit what Devin Haney does or whatever? Who gives a fuck about that? Like, really? Are you like a baby mama or something? Like, you care about, how my feelings. I can't believe he said that. Who does he think he is? That's not just weird, bro. Like, you sound like a weirdo, bro. Just not normal. Just focus on the boxing. But then the irony is that Ryan Garcia cheats, and then Devin Haney is the bad guy. And see, and this is where I'm talking about racial wars. You don't score points as a Latino if you're backing up a guy who tested positive for Ostarine. How is that help you? How does that make you have more integrity for the sport? The only thing that makes you is a cheater. Backing a cheater is no different than being a cheater. Oh, it was just, it's an insignificant amount. Insignificant amount, they'll fire you from your job if you have an insignificant amount of heroin or cocaine. Okay? They won't have any mercy on you. It's just an insignificant account. What was that in his system doing anyway? But David Haney's a clean fighter. Isn't that an example for the sport? Isn't it an example for the sport how David Haney actually goes and fights everybody? Brian Norman Jr., he wanted to fight Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez pussied out. But it's funny because Teofimo Lopez is also a very arrogant asshole, who thinks he's better than everybody else. He's always thought that. But he's the good guy. Oh, why? Because he's Latino and you want to kiss his ass. That's it. Because there's not too many good technical Latinos. So the moment you see one, no matter what he does, even if he was to pull his cock, in your mom's throat, you would still cheer for him. But you will blame the other black guy because, he pulls his cock too. Your mom is a slut. I'm joking with you. You see what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So really, this racial bias stems from hate. And this hate really is a hate that stems from roots. And these roots really stem because a lot of Latinos, for some reason or another, they think they're special or they're more whiter than everybody else. Or they consider themselves whites. But bro, you're an indigenous person. You're a red simian. If you call black people monkeys, you understand that you're a red monkey. Like, if you're going to attack people racially, look at your ancestors, bro. They look like chimps too. If you're going to go to the ancestral homeland, right? To the jungle, right? They look like fucking apes too. And no white person is ever going to recognize you as part of them. It's just not. But for some reason or another, there's a stigma where they want to be, white or whatever. And I see it all the time. My dad, was a racist person himself. And I'm not going to go in details, but he was, he had no identity. He literally didn't have any identity. He wanted like all his kids to be white, right? And you see that over and over again. It happens with black families too. It happens with a lot of people. It's just like Asians too. I've seen it too. Like they want to be white and shit. So now when they see like Ryan Garcia or they automatically jump on Ryan Garcia. They jump on Canelo Alvarez because he's whiter. But it's funny how these same people who have these, pride and roots, they don't back David Benavidez. They don't give that same energy to Jose Ramirez. They don't give that same energy to many of the boxers that I've seen, Latino boxers, because they're not white enough. And that's the truth. So it seems like when the whiter they are, the more money they make. Ryan Garcia ain't done shit in the sport of boxing, and many Latinos kiss his ass. But Devin Haney became undisputed, and they hate him. Well, what do you like? The guy who, why do you hate Devin Haney so much? He became an undisputed champion at a really young age. But you like Ryan Garcia more, even though this guy's had some psychological issues. He was definitely on dope when he was like, the way he was acting, it was definitely weird, talking about child molestation and, how he got abducted by UFOs and then, you gotta, the children are getting raped. Some weird shit. And then suddenly he stops and you think, and you want to back that guy up over Devin Haney. Dude, you lost your marbles, bro. You are a retard. You're going to back up a guy who started talking about he got abducted by aliens, he got raped by a black guy, which I don't believe any of that. He knows he was in the in it was what was he? He was in Palo Alto with Bohemian Grove. He got fucked by guys. You want to believe that guy? And then he's saying that he was talking not real nice about Caleb Plant and his wife, literally berating people, also a racist too. And you back that guy over Devin Haney, who is basically not ducked anybody. Well, you're fucking insane, and you're a fucking racist, bro. You're not here for boxing. You're here for Latinos. That's what you're out here for. But how can you discredit a boxer like? But I see it all the time, and then y'all say like things like, "Oh, he's a runner. He's a runner." Well, Gary Antoine is not a fucking runner, and so is David Benavidez. They're not runners. But they don't make any pay-per-views from you bitches. Why? Because you're not putting no money in. Because you only want the white guys to make more money. So Gary Antoine Russell put some really nice fights. I mean, that guy is a great fighter. You got David Benavidez, right? Not white enough. He's just destroying people. But Canelo, who ducks, and Ryan Garcia have higher pay-per-views. And you wonder what's wrong with boxing. Well, there's something wrong with boxing if Ryan Garcia has higher pay-per-views than these fighters. But yeah, you're saying that you don't want to watch runners. Guillermo Rigondeaux is a runner. But then you don't accuse Willie Pep or Tony Canzoneri. For God's sake, have you ever seen Jack Dempsey's fights? Have you ever seen Gene Toney, George Carpentier, all the boxers from the old school, like the 1920s and 30s? Max Baer? Fucking the whole fight was literally clinching. And nobody was complaining about that back in the day. Even though they had their racial differences, they did. But the actual sport, nobody was actually complaining about that. Because Latinos literally didn't exist in the sport at that time. Here's the thing. Latinos don't produce pure technical boxers anymore. They suck. It's one-dimensional. The best you're going to find right now in the United States is Angelo Leo, Bam Bam, and possibly Raymond Murataya are technically, and David Benavidez too, but technically speaking, those are probably the ones that are more close to a boxer. Okay, but especially Angelo Leo, which is a great fighter, and he doesn't duck. But most of the boxers that Latinos produce are brawlers. Instead of going to black gyms and learning that style, they go to other Latino gyms to learn the brawling style. Well, if you have a high IQ, what you're going to do is you're going to go to different gyms and you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to learn from here, I'm going to learn from here, and nothing's going to stop you. But since there's a racial division, because you think that Latino probably going to get you anywhere. Ain't going to get you anywhere. Mexican boxers, I'm not talking about the Latino boxers in America, because they think they're Mexican, but they're not. They'll never give their titles to Mexico. That's never going to happen. They will keep them from the United States. They claim that, but they will never give those titles to Mexico. So that's a lie. Because they want to be American. They just do it for marketing, like a marketing scheme, a marketing ploy. That's the truth. They're not going to donate their titles to Mexico. They don't. When you look at BoxRec, nationality, residence, and also where they were born, it's all United States. They don't change their nationality from American to Mexican. But they claim they're Mexican. Bullshit. Not even the Mexicans believe it. Only they believe that shit in their heads. So what I'm saying is that instead of learning from different gyms, they have to divide themselves into Latino gyms and then and then other gyms, and it's like, if it will be great, they're Raymond Murataya, right, who's ducking right now Andy Cruz, would go to Jaron Ennis's gym and learn from them. Just like Lester Martinez, who was actually smart, went to Terrence Crawford's gym and learned from them. But you don't do that because you're too stupid to get better. Here's the top of the top of the top. And instead of wanting to learn from them, you want to start this racial bullshit. Devin Haney is a way better boxer than Brian Garcia will ever be. More technical. You can say whatever you want about him, but he's way more technical. So is Shakur Stevenson. So is Terrence Crawford. So was Andre Ward. Latinos don't produce boxers like that. Because why? See, black boxers were smart. Because back in the day, the Whitney Brimsteins and all the trainers like Ray Arcells, they trained boxers who were really technical. They knew the Tony Canzonares, the Willie Peps, who also ran. And they trained those styles too. But I guess the Italian Americans, which is really Americans, learn that style, but the Latinos cannot learn that style in America. Well, I guess the so-called Italian Americans were smarter than the Latinos because they had really good styles back in the day. Very good defensively sound boxers too. But you don't want to give them credit. So Willie Pep is a superstar, but Guillermo Regendow is this runner. So the hypocrisy couldn't speak for itself. It's just unbelievable. It's just such a hypocrisy. And then you want to change the sport. You want to take away clinching. You want to take away, you want to call it Tom and Jerry fights, which is, Turki Al-Sheikh doesn't really know anything about boxing. Never sparred one round in his life. But you want to change that too. How is that going to help the sport of boxing, you dumbass? You think that I know kids in the gym that I helped out. I have Latino and black kids too. There's some that don't have power. What the fuck you want me to teach him? To brawl? Are you a retard? Of course not. Because there's somebody else who's going to have greater power than they do because that's their natural talent. They got power. I can't put my boy there with a power puncher. Are you insane? Are you stupid? Have you lost your marbles, bro? Do you have marbles? Yeah, that's what I thought. Why not? Can't put him with a boxer like somebody, a brawler. Yeah, go ahead and, try to break his face. No technique. No, I'm not going to do that. Clinch him. Use your jab, move, go to angles, do whatever you got to do to win that fight. That's what you need to do to win that fight. You need to move in angles, move. But don't play his game. Don't let him play his game. Don't let him cut the ring and hit you because he has the how would I say this? He's the one who has the advantage over you because he has the power. You're in a disadvantage. It's like if you're fighting a crippled person, okay? You have the advantage. So if that crippled person wants to beat you because he's in a disadvantage, he needs to use his head. And that's where IQ comes in boxing. There's some boxers like Sebastian Fundora who are very tall. Yeah, I'm going to go and I'm going to tell my boy to brawl against, Sebastian Fundora. Yeah, fuck no. Are you retarded? Especially if you got any power, your meat, he's a grinder, a meat grinder. He's going to grind you up. He's going to destroy you, Sebastian Fundora, if you're close range. But you want to change the rules. How does that help the sport of boxing? How does that help the sport of boxing? Clinch is being used since the 19th century. Even when there was bare knuckle fighting, they used the clinch. It was normal. They idolized Bob Fitzsimmons, but fucking Bob Fitzsimmons, this British guy, he was a clincher. All the fights were fucking clinches. Terry Montgomery was a clincher. There's so many clinchers back in the day. Literally, that's all they did is clinch. 90% of the fight was clinching. And it was legal. But so what? Styles make fights. You can't beat a clincher, then that's your fucking fault for not learning the art. That's your fault. That's not the other guy's fault. But Shakur Stevenson, he's a runner. Shut up, you pussy. A runner, you're the runner. You're not in the ring. You see, you're the real runner because you're not in the ring. But I'm not going to accuse Cepeda because he's a one-dimensional swarmer and say, oh, he's low IQ, not really smart, not really bright, not the smartest of the bunch, and fight against Shakur Stevenson and say, oh, Styles make fights. But I'm not accusing anybody's style. Styles make fights. That's part of boxing. It's not about undefeated records. Styles make fights. So what is the difference? It's who wins and who loses. How you win and how you lose, that depends on your style. But you cannot be trying to change the rules of boxing because you have a racial agenda against black boxers or fighters who fight a certain way, and you can't adapt to that. It's just like going to university. To graduate, I don't want to fucking, if I'm doing a history course, I don't want to study math. But shit, I gotta study it if I want to graduate, right? You don't have a chance. You don't have a choice. I mean, you have to study it. But to some extent, that actually kind of helps you because you kind of learn something new. But Latinos don't want to do that. All they want to do is cry and whine about, black boxers because they're more skillful than they are. Well, listen, bro. Have you heard if you cannot beat him, just join him? At least that. Do that. But I guarantee if they started going to black boxing gyms, well, they actually help because they see black boxers retain the art form of real boxing. The Italian Americans, they're gone from the sport. I keep saying Italian American, but I have to mention that so you understand. They're real Americans. Okay? They're just like, there's no Mexican Americans, there's no African Americans, just Americans. You just always have to divide it by fucking some imaginary place they've never been to. Okay, that country they've never been to. But anyway, they had the art form, and then the black Americans retained the art form. They're the ones that have it. So Latinos, instead of actually learning from that, they want to discredit and change the rules of boxing. Because let's face it, they don't have a lot of technique. And listen, let me tell you one thing. If you're there, because there's some people who watch boxing for weird reasons. There's people who watch boxing just because they want to see blood and guts, right? If you want to see that shit, well, listen, don't watch no gay boxing sport because, first of all, we wear gloves. Second of all, we do use the clinch. We do have to box backwards if we're in disadvantage. But if you're a real man, real fighters, right? Go watch bare knuckle fighting, bro. Go to the daddy of boxing. Why even watch boxing? Go watch bare knuckle. Go help them, jackass. We're not going to do that. Why? Because when you watch bare knuckle, it's so fucking brutal. Nose is split in half, eye sockets I've seen fucking jaws broken in half. Concussions, the concussions are really bad. Fucking look like UFOs and shit, You fucking a bare knuckle fighter after a fight, man, from far away, you might think you're gonna get abducted by him and shit. Take you to outer space and fuck you in Mars. He might be doing, some shit like that. Or rape you in Mars. You know what I'm saying? Take you with ET. But that's not a really nice sport. But if you want to see blood and sweat and tears, you want to see fucking blood, go watch bare knuckle. But there's not a lot of Latino countries. I don't see a lot of Mexicans in Mexico doing bare knuckle because it's too fucking savage. That's the reason why. They're not in South America either. It's too savage. It's too real. They would ban it. Just like they try to ban bare knuckle. I mean, they actually really did kind of take it out of the competitions, not sanction it for a long time, for 100 years almost, since recently. It's too brutal. But if you're going to complain about boxing, our art form that we have here, where you have gloves, because I'm telling you, if you go by that macho bullshit, boxing is not for you. We use gloves. We're ladies in compare with the bare knuckle fighters. They don't use gloves. If they hit you, they're gonna crack you. But you don't watch that sport. You watch boxing, so it's your fucking fault. Don't change our rules over sport because you can't fucking adapt, because you don't have the IQ or the intelligence to adapt. That would be like changing the rules of being a nuclear scientist because you can't make it to be a nuclear scientist. If you don't want to be or inspire to be like a Shakur Stevenson defensively, or you want to be like a Floyd Mayweather Jr., you want to be, just have slick movement, then don't change the fucking rules. Just say, I cannot get a PhD. I'm okay with having a high school diploma. That's what you need to say. That's what you need to think about. But don't be changing the rules just because they fit you, because you cannot make them. You can't fight those styles. So why change it? And then that's when racism comes in. So what do? You hate on these other boxers because that's just how it is, cannot beat them. So I'm going to hate my doctor because I never became a doctor. Oh, he's white. I'm not going to hate him. Or Latino, but he's black. You're a doctor. I'm a janitor. I hate you. That's how stupid it sounds. Sport of boxing is a joke. The reason why is because, I'll be honest with you, Floyd Mayweather Jr. really fucked us with that undefeated record bullshit. That was terrible for our sport. But now there's a lot of boxers who want to remain their undefeated records. Then you have these Latino boxers who they know they're limited technically. I'm talking about the ones that are coming from, because Latino boxers actually in America, they actually do challenge other fighters. But I'm talking more about the Latinos like in Mexico and other countries where they're very selective. Like if you look at Pitbull Cruz, he's very selective and he's going to pick because he can't beat our styles, most of our styles. It's the same thing with William Cepeda. He's not going to fight the fucking Edwin de los Santos, or he's not going to fight that caliber of boxers. Even boxers from Puerto Rico, right? Like Sander Sayas, he's not fighting like the Erickson Lubins or the Jesus Ramos, American fighters. He's taking the easier routes because he knows that in the top of the elite, we are on the top. Whether it's Latinos or blacks, doesn't really make a difference. That's why they do it. I mean, Navarrete was a terrible style. That dude has never unified one championship in his life. But a lot of people have him like he's some sort of fucking great. But no, he's ducked literally everybody in 4 different weight classes too. So if everybody fights everybody, they're all going to lose. If everyone fights everyone, they're all gonna fucking lose. Do you understand that in your big, thick Latino head? Okay? And if you're black and you believe that shit of being undefeated, you're retarded just as much as a Latino is. They're all gonna fucking lose. Because just like the records we see in UFC or the records we saw in the golden era age, right? The Archie Moores, Tony Zells, and all, they all had a shitload of losses. But the question is, how many of those good fighters did you beat in the end of your career? So, but in today, they barely fight. They're literally picking and choosing. We got fucking 4 belts. And then we have this racial component to it that makes us want to hate boxers like Devin Haney and then kiss the ass of boxers like Canelo and Ryan. Canelo and Ryan have been actually Ryan has actually more of a pair, but Canelo's been ducking like American boxers like Andre and David Benavidez, making fun of them and shit. You're gonna support that guy? What piece of shit are you? If you're gonna claim the word American in your mouth, don't claim that word if you're supporting Canelo Alvarez. Because it took 2 fucking fighters, Andrade and Benavidez, 2 American boxers, to face each other. Because they believed in their technique. Canelo didn't believe in his technique. That's why he never faced any of those. But he fought Gildrim and he fights fucking John Ryder? Are you fucking kidding me? He fights Edgar Berlanga, who ducked Damaro Jr. and David Benavidez. And other boxers too. He fights Jaime Munguia, who ducked Demetrius Andre, who supposedly he was going to fight for a certain offer, David Benavidez, and ducked out. That's the guy you're rooting for? What are you, a pussy? I think you smell like a pussy. Because only pussies will back a boxer who is a pussy. And that's the truth. You should be supporting the American talents that we have instead of fucking racially dividing. You know, I want him to lose. Why do you want him to lose? I don't like him. Why do you not like him? He's black, huh? That's what it comes down to. They won't tell you that because they don't have the balls to say that. But in the back of their heads, they don't have the balls to tell you that because they want to be white. And they think they're accepted. Well, how did that go with Donald Trump? How is that going for you? Feel really accepted, huh? You guys are idiots. You guys are idiots. At the end of the day, all I want for boxing is that the most dangerous fighters fight the most dangerous fighters. For me, it's not about the elite fights, even. That's not even about that. For me, it's about Edwin de los Santos fighting Rayo Valenzuela. Or, 2 prospects coming in. They're both they're both in the top 10 rankings. They're fighting each other. They're not ducking and trying to look for the way out to have this beautiful undefeated record and then have a chance for a world title. No, because if you're fucking good, you're gonna show it at the top 10 level. You're gonna be facing and destroying the opposition coming up. Oh yeah, Edwin dos Santos is there. Let's say Real Muay is Edwin dos. I want to take Edwin dos Santos. Dangerous fight, but he's facing Tevin Farmer, who was retired and literally came back after 2 fights. I mean, they used him like a condom. He was. I mean, he has a pair of balls, though. I give him credit for taking these fights, Tevin, and I hope he made some money. But they used him, just like Jojo Diaz was used. And Jojo was a dog. He fight everybody, just like Tevin, just like Gamboa. They will fight anybody, but they were being passed over like Adrian Broner, just passed around. I don't want to see those fights, because if you're a young prospect and you want to become a world champion, to be in the top 1 position, motherfucker, you better be fighting like some serious challenges here. But very few boxers are going to take top challenges, and that's why I believe we have to have at least 1 belt per division. This 4 belt shit is garbage. And then we have these undefeated records, and then we have a racial component. You can duck all this. I want you to fight this black fighter, but you fight this guy, the Mexicans. But why do the Mexicans fight each other? Because it's an easier fight than facing, let's say, Pitbull Cruz fighting, who's fighting, Fierro. I mean, you know, really mediocre bad fighter. And his backup fight is Omar Salcido. Okay, why don't you fight actually Lucas Batty, the Canadian, who's a dangerous product? Why don't you fight Wendell Son? Why don't you fight fucking Frank Martin? Why don't you make those fights? Because he doesn't believe in his style. And then what does he do? He complains about how Raya Valenzuela was a runner. A runner. So now Raya's a fucking runner. It just doesn't make any sense, man. We lost our... it's not that boxing changed, it's that we changed. Not me, really. But most people, their idea of boxing is, it's just not real. I mean, Tom and Jerry, really? Is that what we call boxers who fight in their back? You know, we're controlling range and distance. We call them runners now. So Willie Pep was a fucking runner. Is that what it is? Gene Toney was a hugger. And then these and I'll tell you one thing: the Manny Pacquiao fans. Woo, the Manny Pacquiao fans, man, those are racist people right there. They're the ones who started with that bullshit of running. So Whittaker is a runner. Whittaker was a runner. He ran. I thought Oscar De La Hoya also ran when he fought Felix Trinidad. He didn't run, right? Oh, he didn't run. He's Latino. That's funny. Just bullshit. One of the best Mexican boxers, Ruben Olivares, was literally a runner. So I'm going to discredit him in style now? Oh, you suck. You're a runner. Really? We're going to do that now? Because if you go to the fucking past, I'm telling you there was boring ass fights. Well, they actually were fighting in a brawl, and there was literally no IQ whatsoever. There was literally no IQ. I don't want to see two fucking stone throwers, hitting each other like two mastodons, like two fucking rams ramming each other with no IQ. But people want to see that shit. That's not boxing, man. But I accept it as part. Just don't try to change the rules. Just because black fighters use it and you can't. I have no problem as a boxing purist if Latinos fucking use the clinch. Use the fucking clinch. It's there for you, you jackass. You can actually become a better boxer if you use your clinch. Ta-da! Can you use your jab and just fight backwards? Just use your jab and fight backwards, man. You can do that too. But don't try to change the fucking sport. It sounds so weak, bro. It sounds so weak. It just sounds so weak. I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, I support American boxers. That's my priority. I don't give a fuck if you're blue, green, black, yellow, brown, or yellow. I don't give a fuck who you are. I support American boxing. And when I see two American boxers, I just stand in the back and I just watch. That's all I do. I don't have a fucking agenda. I'm not trying to make sure the black fighter gets humiliated by a dope fiend like Ryan Garcia. That's just stupid, racist, and on top of that, that you lost your integrity and who you are as an individual if you are going to back a cheater. I mean, that's insanity, bro. You lost me on that. I hope you're not a Christian and backing that shit up. Because that would be next level hypocrisy at a next level. Next level. Because many Latinos, they claim they're Christians and Catholics and all this bullshit, and then they hate on other races and other people. Well, I know that Jesus Christ was like that, but that's all right. Don't blame me. Just read the Bible. But it's just funny to me. But like I said, I support my American boxers. I support American fighters. And if there's a fighter who's ducking, he needs to be called out immediately, like Gervonta Davis, who's ducking right now. And you say, bro, you need to fucking take Devin Haney, or I mean, he ducked Devin Haney. You should fight Shakur Stevenson. You need to fucking fight Shakur Stevenson. What the fuck is it? You shouldn't back them up or talk about his money or what the fuck is that? Talk about a man's money. He makes more money. He's a money man. You don't make as much money. That's why you hate him. Because you don't make enough money. I'm gonna finger my ass now, okay? I'll be back. Well, I think of Gervonta. Come on, man. The same people say that shit about Canelo. So Demetrius Andre wants to fight Canelo Alvarez or Dave Benavidez. Canelo's more famous. I'm lubing my ass as I rub it tight, thinking of Canelo. He's more famous. He makes more money. You fucking out of your mind? Are you a man? Who the fuck gives a shit about his money? Take the fucking fight, you fag. Take the fucking fight, you little pussy. The fuck is that shit about the money? Take the fucking fight. Prove it. Prove it. Show it. Go there and prove it. Take the fight. If Andre is that bad of a fighter, but you're fighting you children, you jackass, well, you go fight Demetrius Andre first. See how that works. Because you avoid him 2-weight class, so fight him. If you beat him, that's it. Fight David Benavidez. He's this, he only brings to 20 pounds. What did Jermell Charlo fucking bring when you brought him up 2-weight classes? Or Amir Khan, what did he bring? Extra pounds too? Or were you the bully in that? The weight bully? It's just so stupid. That doesn't make any sense. He makes my money. Fight started that, but it doesn't mean you have to continue it. Just because Eve ate from the apple, it doesn't mean Adam had to fucking chew on it. Could have said no too. Could have stopped the shit. He ate. So you don't have to continue that shit. And fucking Floyd wasn't even undisputed. But Devin Haney is undisputed. Something Floyd never did. I think he regretted it. He's definitely regretting now seeing Usyk, Devin Haney, and now Ayuna being undisputed. I guarantee you he's fucking regretting that. He made a lot of money, but that's not going to help you in your record if you're not undisputed. You didn't clean your weight class, bro. We'll never know, but not never knowing is not a guarantee that you're going to win those fights. And that's true. That's why they all have to fight each other and be undisputed. That's what they all should do. And you should be calling the shit their bluff. Okay? Murtaza Aliyev right now doesn't want to fight fucking I don't know, let's say nobody, he can't get a unification fight. Okay, well that we need to call out whoever he's ducking him. But if he fucking takes Josh Kelly and Erickson Lubin says, motherfucker, I want to fight you, you can't be backing Murtaza Aliyev for Josh Kelly. Are you insane? Did you lost your mind? Just because he's a Russian or white fighter or whatever? What the fuck is wrong with you? He's ducking too. Don't be a hypocrite, bro. If you put everybody in the same balance, you're going to find balance in boxing. The problem with boxing is there's no balance anymore. And that's the problem. We're not seeing good fights. It's not the fucking fighters who are ducking. It's you who are supporting this shit. You are the fucking problem. Because you are supporting racial bullshit over boxing. You are supporting changing the sport of boxing to fit you. And then on top of that, you are talking about boxers who duck and kiss their ass. In the 90s, there wasn't this sort of shit. But things have changed. Men don't put as many panties on. but they didn't put as many panties on in that generation. I'm talking. I'm gonna be banned here. And not as many men wore lipstick, but they took the fights. So I'm just saying, you got to call them out. And if they're Latino, they're Latino. If you're a pussy, you're a pussy. Listen, out of all the boxers that I know, the ones who have a genetic, there's some people who just have genetically, they're just warriors, right? Like Stefan Fulton, he's just willing to fight anybody. He might get beat up by Nayune, but he is willing to fight, and that's a genetic gene right there. That is some warrior shit. Jojo Diaz was willing to fight anybody. He didn't win some of his fights. He got beat up in some of them, but he was willing to fight everybody. See, that's the type of fighters that you want to support in the sport of boxing. If you're a boxing purist. Now, if you're some sort of boxing bitch, then you're going to support the fighters that duck. The prize fighters, which that's what they are. They're prize fighters. They're not legacy fighters. They're prize fighters. They're not willing to eliminate every single danger. They're just willing to take they're just willing to take certain risk and then kind of rob the opportunity to other fighters to not have that glory. Like I said before, how does that help the other boxers being ducked? How does that help Andre if Canelo ducked him for an undisputed challenge? How does that help the United States? This motherfucker ducked him. He didn't fight fucking Andre. We could have another undisputed champion in the United States. This bitch ass dude didn't want to rumble with him because he fears American fighters. I don't understand. I do not understand the mentality and the ethic of most boxing fans out there. I don't understand. It's weak as fuck. It's so weak. It's so weak. It's so weak. I don't get it. People tell me, you too raw. I am fucking raw. I am the rawest. And in the boxing scene, if obviously you probably haven't. If you speak Spanish, you know that I do podcasts in Spanish too. But if you're in the real boxing scene, it doesn't get better than this, and it's not gonna get more neutral than this either. Because I don't have an agenda. I don't give a shit. I don't give a fuck if I have 2 subscribers or 1 subscriber. I have a life outside of here, but I want to keep the sport of boxing alive. I want to see the best fighters fight the best fighters. I want to see the most dangerous fights take place. And it's not a question of making money or not making money. It's a question that's your job as a boxer to box, and you should be facing all styles and stop being a whiny little bitch and complaining about other styles you don't like because you cannot beat them. So therefore you want to change the rules. No. But first of all, there's no such thing as Mexican American. You're an American. There's no such thing as a Afro American. What the fuck does that mean? I'm fucking from Africa? Are you kidding me? I'm from America, United States. There's no such thing as a Mexican American. If you're born in this territory, you're a United States citizen. That's who you represent. And you're both equal in boxing. You represent this flag, and there will never be, even if our nation gets destroyed or whatever happens in the future, there will never be in the sport or in the world a country that produced as many champions as the United States. Not even close. We run the sport. All the events happen in the United States. The only reason why we're not seeing these fucking events, or the reason why many of my peers, people that I know, abandon boxing, is because they tell me, at least in UFC, I get to see good fights. See, with this mentality, we're all the boxing purists, they left to watch other sports, and I don't blame them for it. I mean, if it takes like fucking 8 years to make Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather Jr., but it only literally took like less than 6 months to make the first Roy Jones versus Bernard. It was a great fight, great technical fight when they were in their prime. Things have changed, and not for good. I mean, what happened with Triple G and Andre Ward? All this media bullshit because Triple G ducked Andre Ward. Well, I mean, why even talk about Andre Ward if you're gonna duck him? You're gonna pussy out. I don't get it. Canelo never fought Andre. That's a fight we'll never see. Canelo will never fight Dave Benavidez. So I don't even know why we're wasting our time talking about that fight. That fight will never happen. I said it years ago. That fight will never happen. I told his dad. That fight would never happen. You see my interview with him? That fight will never happen. That will never happen. You see how many fights we're losing? And then you fucking wonder why the sport of boxing is doing bad. Plus the racial shit. Plus, the undefeated bullshit and all this. Plus accusing other fighters of using a style you can't manage because you don't have the IQ to do it. You don't want to learn it. Who the fuck? Boxing is a whiny sport, bro. Everybody's whining. But the sad part about it is that if it doesn't change, then what's the point? If it doesn't change, what's the point? Joseph says, will Canelo ever avenge the Bivol loss? Well, I'm going to tell you something. First of all, nobody asked Canelo to fight Dimitri Bivol. That's something that he wanted to do. If you want to fight Dimitri Bivol, we are demanding that you fight boxers in your division. That includes Dave Morrell Jr. and David Benavidez. But since you don't want to fight any of the two, which, by the way, Dave Morrell Jr., when he fought Lennox, what was his name? Lennox Allen. Okay. He became literally the WBA champion. He was going to be the mandatory, but they put him as a WBA regular champion for a reason, because they didn't want to push him with Canelo. Nobody was talking about Dave Morrell Jr. versus Canelo Alvarez, but that's a fight that should have happened. Yeah, he ducked him too. It's not just David Benavidez and Andre. It's also Dave Morrell Jr. I'm just being honest. That was the Cuban. That Cuban was he showed he's dangerous against David Benavidez. So he wants to fight Dimitri Bivol. Nobody asked him to do that. You need to fight the most dangerous fights in your division. If you want to fight Dimitri Bivol, then that's up to you. But nobody's asking for that fight. So whether he fought him or not, I wouldn't want to see a fight with Dimitri Bivol, because it doesn't make any sense. It's never made sense to me because he wasn't in his weight class. But he probably thought that Dimitri Bivol was sweet. And that cherry was a cherry that went wrong. And that's what I think happened. Because they tend to be very... When you're Canelo Alvarez, you calculate your moves. But once again, I don't give a fuck about no Dimitri Bivol. I didn't care whether he beat Dimitri Bivol or Dimitri Bivol beat him. I don't care. That's not the fights that should have happened. It was David Benavidez and Dave Morrell. He didn't fight any of the two. They went up. And now it's Christian and Billy. He's not going to fight him. That's a dangerous fight. He's not going to fight Diego Pacheco. I mean, he's not going to fight... who's the other guy? Jose Iglesias, the Cuban guy. Fuck no, he shouldn't fight that guy. But he wants to fight Terrence Crawford. I didn't ask you for Terrence Crawford, man. Only casuals care about the fucking fight. Listen, I give credit to Crawford. He's being misjudged by a lot of people. They never gave him credit. Talked well about Lomachenko when Terrence Crawford was a way better talent than he was. But that's okay because, he's black and, a little change. Lomachenko, best thing I ever seen. Then Muhammad Ali. Right? Then Muhammad Ali. That's not what I asked for. Nobody asked for that shit. But instead of fucking criticizing Canelo Alvarez for not taking the fights in his division, people kiss his ass. What the fuck? What's wrong with you, bro? Why are you kissing his ass? Does he pay you money? Has he fucked you in the ass? You like it? You enjoy it? Have you blowed him before? Is he fucking your wife and paying you? What is he doing to you? That you have to back this guy up so much that he can duck and do whatever he wants. Why would you ever say you can do whatever you want? Are you fucking kidding me? Fuck no, bitch. No. Take the fights. But we don't get it. It says guys that stay in the back foot and never throw punches or barely throw are hard to watch. I understand they might be hard to watch, but that's part of the sport. Sorry. Some of them don't have the power. So what are we going to do? If you don't have the power, then you can clinch. And if you throw what, in the end of the day, it's about winning. It's about points. That's why there was a point system. You have to have a point system, because otherwise it would be like the old days where you had to knock out somebody for 50 rounds to see who was knocked out first. But once again, why are you not watching bare knuckle fighting? You see, when I mention bare knuckle fighting, I mean, you really want to see some shit. Why are you not watching bare knuckle fighting? It's way more brutal. Like I said, why wear gloves? I mean, if we're complaining about boxers going backwards and throwing not a lot of punches, well, that's the fucking fall of the fighter who cannot cut the fucking ring. Watch Max Baer in his fights. He used to run for his opponents. Subriel Matias, I don't like his style, but he literally just cuts the ring real fast and fights his opponent. So why are we complaining about the guy fighting backwards and not the guy who's moving forward? For God's sake, fucking Tony Zell and Jake LaMotta knew how to cut a fucking ring, and Canelo couldn't do that against Christian and Billy. But Christian Billy has no power. Of course he's going to do that. Canelo already has the upper hand because he has more power. He's the better boxer, right? So why don't we put a fucking timing in the boxers who cut the ring? Why don't you just be like, okay, you got 5 seconds. You see, I can do that too. But it's always the guy who's going backwards. See, like, once again, we're making up rules. We're just making up rules. If one boxer throws 2 punches a round and one won, the one that took 2 punches won the round. It's that easy. It's a point system. People are glorifying Willie Pep and his fight against Jackie Graves because he fought a round without throwing a punch, and they gave him the round. Oh wow, that's incredible, Willie. You're amazing. No. Look at Guillermo Ringendahl. He's a runner. See, once again, the double standards too. Can't do that. Have you even watched fucking fights in the old school days? Go watch them. Look at Jack Sharkey. Look at some of these boxers back in the day. They were great too. Mikey Walker, right? All of them. They clinched all fucking day. Nobody gave a shit. And now, it doesn't sell. It doesn't sell. Bro, I tell you, it's hypocrisy what you're saying. Because Gary Antoine Russell is exciting as fuck if you go by that rule. And so is David Benavidez. And they don't fucking really sell either. What sells is when you have a white boxer. That's what sells. It's not about your fucking style. For God's sake, remind Bia when he fought Jaron Ennis, he only made $30,000 fucking dollars. And he was a brawler. Exciting. Pitbull Cruz doesn't make more money than Shakur Stevenson. And neither does Cepeda either. They brainwash y'all. How do you explain that Gary Antoine Russell, Dave Morrell, I'm just putting give samples here, Dave Benavidez, Arthur Beterbiev are exciting as fuck to watch, right? Because they have a come forward style fighting, right? But they're not making more money than Devin Haney. Kind of weird. Or Floyd Mayweather Jr. But they're exciting as fuck. I mean, they have their legacies, right? Why are they not making that much money? Like I said, it's a fucking lie. It's a fucking lie. All that boring bullshit, and they don't make enough money. They don't make more money than Andre Ward made more money than Sergey Kovalev. And Sergey Kovalev, he had all the belts. He was the kind of A side in the moment too. He made less money than Andre Ward. How do you explain that? So you can't do it. It don't work like that. It's a lie. There's nothing wrong with fighting backwards. If you don't like it, don't watch boxing. Why would I go to an event that says boxing on it, knowing the type of boxers they're going to be in the event, and watch it? Why would I do that? Because there's a bare knuckle fucking festival over there that I could go to as well. I'm not going there. So whose fault is that? Is that your fault? Or is that the boxer's fault? Nah, it's your fucking fault. Because you're whining and complaining, but you're not supporting the sport that's really, really putting it on over there. That's bare knuckle. But you know what? You know what needs to happen? I'll tell you right now. I'll tell you what needs to happen. I hope bare knuckle gets so fucking big in the United States. I hope it gets so fucking big in the United States. I won't tell you why. I hope that. It sounds fucking cruel what I'm gonna say. But I'm gonna leave it with this. I hope bare knuckle takes viewers from boxing. I really hope so. I'm gonna tell you why. Because the amount of savagery, the amount of injuries, broken noses, broken jaws, I've seen some shit in bare knuckle. The amount of, just savage shit. After a decade, with all the problems they'll have mentally, all the fucking problems, a lot of parents will not put any more. They won't put their children into sports because the consequences of all the physical consequences of that will show everybody why you have to use defense, why you have to fight backwards. But I really fucking hope that bare knuckle takes over the sport, because if bare knuckle, which is the daddy of boxing anyway, it was the daddy of boxing for many years. Things changed, but it was the daddy of boxing. Bare knuckle was always the dad of boxing. But I do hope it takes over, because once it takes over and you see all this savage shit, the broken faces, broken jaws, broken knuckles. I mean, like I said, it's a fucking cruel. I mean, I have a lot of respect for bare knuckle fight. If you want to be honest with you, it's definitely more brutal than boxing. But I hope it does take over, because once you see that shit, the blood spilling and the broken teeth, smashing jaws, I think after a decade, people will want to train boxing backwards. People will want to train clinching more. But it needs to happen. Savagery needs to happen first, to put down the stupidity of all those people accusing other boxers who fight a certain way. Defensively, it needs to happen. And I hope it happens. I really do, because that's the only thing that's going to save boxing at this point. The fans today are so stupid. They don't recognize that. They're just dumb. But just put them on bare knuckle. And it's actually, bare knuckle is moving forward pretty fast. It's taking away little by little. I think it's little by little it's taking away. But it hasn't taken its full force yet. But once it does, just wait a decade. Like it happened. That happened already in the 18th century. There were so many fucking injuries just people dying of Alzheimer's, people just having brain injuries. I mean, it was so bad for their health. I mean, people died at an early age that they had to come with gloves. They had to come with different strategies, techniques, things that were appreciated during those times. That's why they clinched a lot. After bare knuckle was banned, they started clinching a lot more. Why? Because it was part of a defensive insides. It was fighting in the insides. It was clinching. But now people don't appreciate it anymore. But they knew what they were doing. That's why clinching wasn't banned. It was important for the sport. But they want to take that away. All right, well, let's just take fucking gloves too. Let's just be real fucking men and go back to the old days. I'm telling you. Once you see these Latinos injured with a broken fucking jaw, you know, they're talking like that after a through, they're not going to help your ass. You think the fucking people that cheer for you for blood are going to help your health, take care of your insurance? No, you're going to be in the streets like the people in the past were on the streets too. Getting hit in the face by a puncher is no joke. If you ever sparred in your life, you know what I'm talking about. You have to have some defense. But if you have to fight backwards, it's no different than if you fucking move your head or you bob and weave or you change angles or you clinch. It's the fucking same thing. You're not getting hit. That's the point. Whatever you want to do, if you want to use spacing or whatever, you're not getting hit, that's fine. It doesn't make a fucking difference. That's part of the defensive side of boxing. It looks better when you move your head and you're moving. Yeah, it looks nice. You don't have to do it, but yeah, sure, it looks nice. Compare your punches with playing with your hands to take away the punches. Yeah, you can do that too, but it's still defense. It doesn't matter if you any of the strategies you do to not get hit. It doesn't make a difference. You're in the ring. But that Tom and Jerry bullshit. Yeah, you know what? Let's have just fucking Jerry versus. Let's have Tom versus Tom. Fuck that. Let's just take Jerry away. Let's just have Tom with Tom. Bare knuckle style. I'm telling you. In 10 years, 20 years, a lot of these Latinos will have so many brain fucking injuries. They won't even fucking forget where their toilet is. They'll take a shit in their fucking they'll take a fucking shit in their car. They won't even be able to drive. They'll be walking around wondering who is who. That's what you want to see? Let's do it. Let's do bare knuckle. Fuck that fucking boxing shit. That's for gay people anyway. All right? They fight backwards. They use gloves. They clinch. Man. Gay stuff. Oh, do bare knuckle. Yeah, do bare knuckle. See how that goes. You don't got the fucking balls to do that. And many of these people who are claiming about clinching and all that, they don't have the fucking balls to do bare knuckle. But they complain about clinching, well, do fucking bare knuckle. See how that was? I mean, they have a lot of, literally have the same rules. But they're more men. You see, it's more of a macho thing, right? That's the ultimate macho. Bare knuckle. It's not boxing. It's not for real men. They use gloves. You fucking kidding me? Just pads and shit. Nah, just real fist. Stupid. Just dumb as fucking stupid. They won't do it. And that's why bare knuckle, but bare knuckle is coming up. It's coming up little by little. They're already sanctioned in some states, and they will be sanctioned in all states at one point. But good luck with that. But that's what's going to save boxing, because like I said, fans are so stupid that they need to see some real bad shit and bad repercussions to their boxers to literally cancel the sport and then go back to defense again, which is what boxing needs anyway. So stop fucking whining about other boxers using defensive moves. Anyway, that's my notes for today. So just give us a like, subscribe, become part of Golden Era here next. Follow us, and also in YouTube as well, in Golden Era Boxing USA. But you can also check our channel in Spanish, Golden Era Boxing, as well, if you speak Spanish. All right, with that said, we'll see you in the next video, and see you soon.